Welcome to the Parenting Lab podcast. I'm your parent coach, Brittney, and I am here to guide you into the calm, clarity, and connection you're looking for as you transform your parenting from the inside out. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Parenting Lab. I always appreciate that you're taking the time to be here with me. I listen to a ton of podcasts, and I'm usually listening while I'm going about my daily routines, getting ready, while I'm on my walk, in the car as I'm driving around. So whatever it is that you're up to today, I just really appreciate you hanging out with me while you're doing it. Today, I want to talk about a shift in mindset that has completely changed the way that I look at generational growth and personal healing. I actually posted about this earlier in the week on Instagram, but this idea has come up actually in a few different conversations over the past few days with clients and friends. So I'm just going to take a hint from the universe and expand on this idea with you today. It's a reframe of a really popular concept. You know how I love a good reframe. And I know that you'll have some thoughts and feelings about this. So I hope you'll stick with me on this one. And please reach out if you want to talk about it because it's big. So here's my new perspective that I want you to consider. I want you to think about the term cycle breaker. What comes to your mind when you hear that word? You might have a few words or ideas popping up. You might even identify with that word. Maybe you've claimed that role or have at least heard of it or know someone who identifies with that label. It's powerful and it's proud, it's defiant. And for many of us, it's felt like a badge of honor, and rightfully so. Today, I want to reframe that term. What if we stopped identifying as cycle breakers and started seeing ourselves as cycle makers? This episode is not going to be about what we're breaking away from. It's about what we are building. So, cycle breaker has been an empowering identity for so many people who grew up in dysfunction and trauma, or simply in environments that didn't feel safe and nurturing. It says, this ends with me, and there's strength in that. It can feel so empowering to say, this stops here, right? But if we sit with the word breaking, what comes up? I really want you to think about this because you guys, the words that we use matter so much. I think sometimes we throw words around out of habit, but what are we really saying? Is the vocabulary we're using actually meaning what we think it means? Anyway, let's really look at the word breaking. Breaking implies destruction. So just for fun, I looked up the definition of breaking, and here's what came up. It means to smash, split, or divide into parts violently, reduce to pieces or fragments, to infringe, ignore, or act contrary to destroy or disrupt the regularity, uniformity, continuity, or arrangement of something. It suggests a fight, a struggle. It might even feel harsh, sudden, forceful, or even violent. It can hold pain and anger and sometimes shame. And while these emotions may be valid, and those definitions are true and effective ways of changing our state of being or our state of mind, what I want to offer you today is the possibility that they don't need to be the centerpiece of our journey. Healing doesn't always mean going to war with the past. So what if instead of seeing ourselves as people who break things, we saw ourselves as people who build? You don't need to tear down the old house brick by brick to build your dream home. Sometimes you simply walk past it, thank it for sheltering your ancestors, and build your own structure on new land. A cycle maker is someone who creates, someone who dreams forward, someone who plants seeds for something better. Cycle making is about agency, choosing values with intention. It's about establishing rituals and habits and relationships that reflect who you are and also who you want to become, not just who you've been told to be or conditioned to be based on your childhood and past experiences. When you become a cycle maker, you're not only choosing this healing, you're choosing vision. You're choosing legacy. You're choosing to focus on what you're building, not just what you're rejecting. Cycle making means that you're not just the end of a story, you're the beginning of a new and better one. Some people may think that moving forward means denying or disowning the past. And for those who have suffered horrific abuse, neglect, complex trauma, this can be an integral part of healing, okay? There is a place for breaking. I completely acknowledge that. And if the wounds that you are carrying with you are tied to that kind of upbringing, I want you to know that your experiences matter and the healing work that you are doing is significant. For others, however, part of being a cycle maker is knowing when to release the old life, the old patterns, the old paradigm, release that with love. We can honor what our parents and caregivers and communities went through. We can see the humanity in their choices, even the ones that hurt us, and we can still choose a different way. Gratitude for our past doesn't mean approval, it means acknowledgement. It means saying, I see what it was, I honor the survival, and now I'm choosing creation. I can honor what they endured, and I can choose something new. So ask yourself, what parts of your past can you gently release? Not out of resentment, but from a place of gratitude for what they've taught you and for the freedom that you now have to choose a different path. I think that this can be a really challenging but really insightful question for each of us to consider as we review our past and what patterns we are carrying into our adulthood and our parenting. I don't know about you, but for me, healing past wounds has been complicated because I didn't come from a home of abuse. I have really amazing parents who raised me with good values and high expectations and all of these really, really good things. So for a long time, I felt guilty for feeling that I had somehow missed out on something because I didn't feel secure in my relationships with my family and because I had so many residual emotional wounds that were hurting so much. How could I complain, or what right did I have to be hurt? It felt so ungrateful and disrespectful. It wasn't until I really started understanding what trauma actually is and what the emotional and physical cost is when we're raised in an environment where we don't feel seen and soothed and safe and secure. Many, many people that I work with are in this same position. They don't have trauma. Their parents were fine. They turned out fine. And yet they're struggling in their relationships. They're unfulfilled. They're angry. They're yelling. They're triggered. When we see these behaviors for what they are, which is a conditioned response to trauma, that is when we can start to heal and let things go. It doesn't mean we disown our parents or minimize the good and wonderful things they did for us. It means that we can see the humanity in how they did things. They repeated patterns that were passed down to them. And I think in most circumstances, we can see that they did the best they could with what they knew. That doesn't mean it was what we needed or how we needed them to show up for us. And it doesn't mean that we want to repeat those same patterns again for the next generation. We can choose to love our parents and we can choose to create something new. I don't have to tear them down to build something new for myself. Does that make sense? So when I posted on Instagram about this, I used the analogy that we need to kind of Marie Kondo our past. And I kind of love that idea here. We aren't really destroying anything, but imagine taking each element of your past into your hands. Okay? Imagine a specific experience or a response or a behavior, and I want you to imagine just holding it in your hands. I want you to look at it, feel it, the weight of it, or even the lightness of it. Does it have a color or a texture, a smell or a sound? Now hold it next to your heart. Does this part of your past bring you joy? If it does, keep it, use it, integrate it, make it part of what you're building. And if it doesn't, then offer gratitude for how it formed you, how it made you aware of what you truly need and want, how you're overcoming and learning from it. And then set it aside. Leave it behind and create something new. So let me ask that question again, because I really want you to reflect on this idea of release, okay? So what parts of your past can you gently release, not out of resentment, but from a place of gratitude for what they've taught you and for the freedom you now have to choose a different path? So now I want to talk about what it looks like to be a cycle maker. Maybe it's creating calm in a home that once only knew chaos. Maybe it's choosing to listen when you grew up feeling like no one heard you. Maybe it's modeling emotional regulation when all you ever saw was either emotional suppression or huge outbursts, yelling, and lost tempers. It's not always loud and dramatic. Sometimes it's simply choosing not to yell. Sometimes it's pausing before reacting. Sometimes it's apologizing to your child and really meaning it. These small, conscious choices, they are the bricks of a new foundation. Every gentle word, every boundary, every moment of presence, this is the architecture of your new legacy. Remember, you are not a breaker of cycles. You are a maker of a new way, a builder, a creator, a visionary, and that is where your power lies. Being a cycle maker is a choice we get to make every day, and it's okay if you don't always get it right. You're still creating something beautiful. So as you move throughout this week, I want you to reflect on a couple things. What are you building? What values are guiding the blueprint of your life? And what does your new legacy look like? Let your story begin with hope, not with what you had to destroy, but with what you have decided to create. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. If this episode resonated with you, I would really love for you to share it, leave a review, or send it to someone you know who is also changing the patterns of their past and creating something new for the next generation. I hope you have an amazing week. I will talk to you next time, where we will continue to explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Parenting Lab podcast. For our complete catalog of online courses, free resources, or to join our mailing list, please visit theparentinglab.org. See you next time.